Very much, everybody. Really great to be here. And I'll start sharing my presentation. We'll get right into it. Okay, so this is, I hope everybody can see my screen. Okay, great. It's called the Nasdaq Easy Trading Strategy, and you see the dollar sign there. And yeah, I had a lot of participation in this. I came up with the initial strategy, and then had people pitch in like Ed Steed and Michael Ellis. Sorry, a bit of a frog. And they helped out as well. So kudos to them. It's really a team effort when we can come together and develop these systems and strategies. So go on here. Okay, so what we'll cover, what was my idea behind the net strategy? And really, getting into my head is not a good place to be because I think out of the box a lot. And then we, I'm going to show you the results. So what's the idea here? Is really to keep it simple. I don't have a lot of time to trade and sit like I did before, and that's all great, but I wanted to keep it simple, something like Bob Turnbull's strategy, a bull strategy, where it's you're not making very many trades. So I wanted to also trade one ETF at a time, just like the VectorVest strategy that was released. I thought that was really great. So minimal entry and exit rules, not have to really think about it a lot, that sort of thing. Use end of day signals rather than intraday. Bob's strategy uses kind of an end of week signal. I thought end of day would be really great. That way I could place my trades in the evening or be ready the next day. So trade, yeah, like I said, at the next open, and use a chart or automate the system, depending on what you have available to you. And the profit multipliers, and this is where it really comes in with using QLD, which is a 2X ETF, or HQU in Canada, although you'd follow the US system, and TQQQ, which is not available in Canada, but there are ETFs in Europe of that nature. So, and use a market timing signal. And really the idea was not just to have some rule for an entry point and an exit point. It really gives you more flexibility and hopefully a higher probability of success. And then the performance goals were really be more profitable than the ETF buy and hold strategy. So respectively, so if because a turbo uses QLD, I would want to see the turbo strategy beat out buy and hold by quite a margin, hopefully. And of course, I want to, I'm just a bull, and you put a system in front of me, and I'll be on it like a dirty shirt. And so I want to see if I could outperform the VectorVest triple Q strategy. So I back test everything. If won't back test, I really don't like it. I like rules, so go with that. And the idea was to get into the trade as early as possible, and something hopefully earlier than using the green light buyer RT kicker combo signal that's in the VectorVest strategy. So that hopefully gets me closer to a bottom. Stay in the trade and keep it. So what's the optimal gain that I'm going to want? And these are all basic principles that I've learned using VectorVest and all the great essays and everything else that have been written, and then keep losses to a minimum. So it's finding that loss solution as well. And there are a lot of options available. So sometimes you just have to keep working it. And then other possible parameters without cherry picking. And by that, I mean not adjusting a parameter by 0.01, for example, which got me out of one trade over 10 years that had a 20% loss. That's not the way to back test. Okay, so I don't cherry pick that way. And what I came up with really was using the confirmed call signal, and that sounds probably counterintuitive because it's a slow signal. It looks at 2 weeks of an up signal as a preliminary signal of a sustained uptrend, and if it's 2 weeks down, it's a sustained downtrend. And then you add in the BSR, going above 1, and you get your up signal, and then you get a confirmed down signal if it goes below 1. So it's slow compared to the other signals, but sometimes it's not. Okay, like last week we had a down up in 2 days, and that's just the choppy market. So it's for prudent investors and even aggressive investors, if they are selling stocks short and buying puts, which is not what this system does. So you can go to the source that I've shown here, and you can read all about it. So yeah, NETS is going to use a confirmed call signal, and it goes to cash when there's a confirmed down. So to me, that's a very conservative strategy to use. When I get a confirmed down, I really don't want to be in the market, except for super. Okay, so I'll touch on that quickly. So there's 2 parts. So part 1 is to get in early, and this is to buy QQQQ during a confirmed down signal. So the rules I have are, the 10-day moving average of RT is less than the 15-day moving average of RT the day before. And on the current day, the 10-day is moved above the 15-day moving average of RT. And RT is less than or equal to 1.12. So we're still in a positive uptrend, that way. And this is where Ed Steed came in and said, hey, look at, something like 1.01 or whatever. And I think that was the number. So we'd just be into an uptrend. So I did some testing with that, and I found 1.12 to be the optimal number. And it might sound kind of cherry picked, but I went back through a number of graphs, and it was just uncanny how I would see QQQQ get down into that range and then start to reverse. So I thought, well, I don't know why it does that. I don't need to know why it does that. I just know that it does it. And RT is a proprietary signal. So VectorVest is doing something real smart with RT as far as I'm concerned. So what does it do? It tends to offset the loss that may occur during a confirmed up signal, tends to do that sometimes, which is great. And it had a very low loss rate. I think they're only over the years, 7+ years that I tested, there were 2 losses. And I'll explain that in a bit. And it was something like 0.02 and 0.98 or something like that. So less than a 1% loss doing this. So it's really a high percentage trade. And, occasionally you'll get a really good run on this of 20% or more. And it's, really pretty simple to put into the Unisearch. And essentially what you have to do first is build yourself a watch list. And this is already available. The watch list is already available because VVV QQQ ETF strategy, sorry, uses, already has a watch list. I think it's QQQ copy, but I make my own. And I actually did this early on because I had to remind myself that QQQQ is a positive 1x Nasdaq strategy ETF. So this is just how you build it. We can go through this, but I kind of already explained it. So very simple, just 3 parameters. And the thing is, you do need Pro Trader for this part because of the moving averages that are used here. So this is just an example early on, 2016, of how the system works. And we're going to look to buy somewhere in here probably. As you can see, RT is already low. It's 1.05. So I know I'm below 1.12. So all I'm going to need really is to find that RT combo of, being less than or equal to 1.12 the day before. And then on the current day, it's then, or say the moving average is below or equal to my 10-day and 15-day moving average, and then the 10-day moving average is above the 15-day. So here we see that on this day, on the 2nd, we've got the 10-day moving average is 9.6 and the 15-day is 0.95. So it's above. And the day before, just take my word for it, they were both 0.96. And that kind of makes sense. But the graph is showing that the green is above the red here. And that's not actually the case when you look at it to 2 decimal places, which is what Unisearch uses and what is shown on the side of your graph. Okay, this is probably using 3 decimal points or whatever. So just look for these numbers. If you see that the day before it was 0.96 and 0.96, that's great. And what happened was the 15-day actually slipped. So it was going down, and I haven't gone through all the testing of why that is or how that might change. I just keep it simple. But RT for the 10-day was above the 15, so that triggered a buy signal. And as I mentioned, we're down at 0.93 here. So we're in a downtrend, and I haven't done any more testing of uptrends and downtrends. I've just tried to keep it simple here. So what happened was I bought on this day, on the next day at the open at 101.35. That's what the system says to do. But you could do this on the chart as well. Now, obviously, price kept going down, but I know I'm near a bottom, and that's okay. I'm trying to pick an absolute bottom, or always it's a reversal, is next to impossible. So what I thought was, well, I'm close to a bottom. I'm just going to stay in. So, this is buy and hold. It has no stop to it on the first part. So I'm going to stay in, and I'm going to ride out this bottom, and then lo and behold, price comes back up again. And I didn't show the rest of the screen because I really wanted to focus on the buy signal. But price keeps going up. And what actually happens here, I didn't show it, is the green light buy or RT kicker combo signal comes on here or here somewhere. So I think the buy came on here, and the buy would be typically at the open, so somewhere in here. So I got a slightly better price than the GLB RT combo, even though it came in a little bit maybe too early. But overall, repeated this over and over again, ended up being an earlier signal and more profitable. So the second part of the strategy is to then, when there's a confirmed up signal, is to set my stops so I can protect my profits and get out if the market reverses, and then really turbocharge or nitrocharge the whole system. So kick these in and really get going once I know there's a up signal in the market. So for turbo, it's very simple. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell that QQQQ position if there was one open during the confirmed down. and that doesn't always happen. And then I'm going to buy QLD once RT is equal to or less than 1.4. And again, this was through experimentation and looking back at the charts. And it was just uncanny how you would see this dip. So you get a pullback, you get a confirmed up signal, typically a pullback to somewhere below 1.4, and then it takes off again, which is kind of like what the market tends to do to confirm support levels. So that worked out quite well. Then I set a 30% gain and a 5% stop loss. So if it's just very simple, and I'm going to get out if either of those happens, or I'm going to exit if there's a confirmed down signal. I'm just going to go to cash as I mentioned. And I just slipped in not to buy within 5 calendar days. And I'll admit this was kind of cherry picked. When I look back at it, I could only find one occurrence where that was actually a value, and it didn't make that much of a change anyway. So I've just left it in, but really I could take it out and just simplify it a little bit more. So Nitro, the only difference is instead of buying QLD, I'm going to buy TQQQ, which is the triple leveraged ETF. So the rules are exactly the same, other than I said a 50% gain as well. And just because TQQQ really moves quickly, and you know, I want to try and extend my gains as much as I can with that one. And then there's a 5% stop loss. So I'm really being conservative, I think, on the losses as well. You know, a 30% gain to a 5% loss. Okay, so I'm looking for a 6 times gain versus my risk, and I'm looking for 10 times with Nitro. So yeah, I'm being pretty hopeful, but I'm setting my hopes high. And I'm also going to just exit on a confirmed down signal. So that's the 2 parts to the strategy. So it's very simple. And as I mentioned, you know, I get the signal and then I open the trade at the next market open. Okay. And this one has the 5 calendar days again. So the one thing here is once I've had the trade, you know, if I get stopped out or if I get my gain, I don't rebuy during that timing signal. This is really important. You know, what I saw early on when we kind of started up the system and we're, you know, getting it going, was it was active, but it was well into a confirmed up signal already. So what would happen, we'd see is there'd be another RT of less than or equal to 1.4, and you'd get a signal to buy. Well, that's because you just started the system up. Well, that was maybe the second or third RT signal that had gone less than or equal to 1.4. And those would be later on in the confirmed up signal, and not something that I back tested because I'm always looking for just the first one. So, you know, once I went into the trade, I get my gain, I'm out. If it goes to a RT less than or equal to 1.4 again, it's not going to buy. Take your gains and be happy, you know. And you know, the late great Dr. Paul used to say, you know, something to the effect of, you're never going to be happy with your trade. You know, you either got out too soon or you got out too late. And in some cases, you get out too soon. But that's okay, you got money in the bank. So the uni search is pretty easy for Turbo. Again, you need a watch list, and you're just looking for RT time as relative timing is less than or equal to 1.4. And for Nitro, you're using a TQQQ watch list, and just super simple to do that search. And you can do that with a graph as well. Just have RT on there and a line that shows 1.4. And then find the first one after a confirmed up. So it doesn't require Pro Trader for that part. So here's the trading system viewer. You know, we've got Pro Trader on to use these. You know, good equity curves over the last year. Of course, Nitro a little steeper, more aggressive, but you know, the downside can be more aggressive as well. Confirmed call signals rather than the green light buyer RT. You know, the all-time is different. The QQQQ ETF trading system was from 2019, I believe. So, you know, the all-time numbers don't really match that well. But over 1 year, it was pretty darn good. And then, you know, the categories are aggressive. But I kind of question aggressive. It is in a sense that because you're using leveraged ETFs, but it's not in the way that we're actually using the confirmed up and down signal. So, you know, we did get pretty amazing returns in these back tests with 615% annual rate of return, just astronomical. But we did have drawdown of 10.5% so far this year. Just happens. And so the back test results, you know, really, we just don't want to back test from the first, you know, up signal after a big down, that sort of thing. Of course, because you're going to get bias from the market move, which is the market's moving up. So of course your system will probably do quite well. And that's great if you're just looking to beat buy and hold and find a system that way. That's great. But I want to see what happens in a downturn. You know, I'm pretty conservative. I like to not blow up my account. So you know, or suffer through major drawdowns and what have you. So you know, how did it also perform compared to the QQQ ETF trading system? And what I'm also going to show you is I did one with QLD and one with TQQQ to try and say somewhat relevant to the trading systems. And then, of course, how does it do with buy and hold strategy? Because really, if I can't outperform buy and hold, you know, what's the point? You know, I'm just going to get used to having these drawdowns and, you know, not frustrating myself. So here's the back test results over 7 years. And what I did is you know, this isn't the start date for the systems, trading systems viewer. This is going back to the previous confirmed down signal, which was a great place to start because the green light buyer RT kicker combo signal that is used in VectorVest QQQQ ETF trading strategy uses green light buyer RT kicker combo, and that's a C down to exit. So we're in a confirmed down, everything starting at the same place. So here's that huge gain with Nitro and about a 25% maximum drawdown along the way. And, you know, pretty amazingly, it had almost 70% winners. And I think anytime you can get much over 50%, you're typically doing pretty well in my estimation. And then there's 85 trades, so about 40 buys, you know, so do the math. We're only doing a trade or two a month or every couple of months. Then, you know, they use the TQQQ in the ETF trading system with the green light buyer RT combo and got about 2,000% return, but a drawdown of 45. So if we go down the list here, you can see for yourself the performance. But what really gets me is, you know, what buy and hold was for TQQQ and QLD. You know, you got a darn good return with the buy and hold, but you would have suffered through an 81% maximum drawdown. So to me, that's way blowing up your account any more than about 30–40%, and it's like I'm really nervous. And then the ones down at the bottom here, they're the other two strategies that are in systems that are in the strategy, and Super QQQ just resets a stop at a confirmed up. That happens as well with Super Plus, but it doesn't exit on a confirmed down. It just keeps looping through. So you get a really low number of trades here. I think it worked out to 33 if I counted right. So if you wanted to get close to buy and hold, that's probably the system that you would use. You get a little lower maximum drawdown than buy and hold here, but you get significantly better return. And if you go with more trades with Super Plus, well, you get better than buy and hold with a really low drawdown in comparison, over half, and less than half the drawdown. So there's Nitro on the equity curve, and with the confirmed up and down signals here. So it's done really well, obviously, but every once in a while you'll get this little cluster of confirmed up and down signals here. Usually, the market's getting toppy, that sort of thing. And I haven't shown the up signal here. Oh, sorry, it is there. And, that we're probably getting toppy here as well, which is what Rick mentioned. And here you get toppy. And the other thing I wanted to show you is what happened in 2022 graphically, as we kept buying and selling, but, and make some gain, and then the market would reverse. Here we made some gains, and the market would reverse. And, this worked out to about 11% loss for the year, and I'll show you that as well. But every once in a while, you just get these flat spots, right? And that is just what's happening there. Is you're just hitting your gain 50%, and then the system stops, and you have to wait till the next up signal to start buying again. And then you flatten out and get your stops, that sort of thing. So you just see these flat spots here that's just stopping you out sometimes, and you're not getting the full movement. So performance during a downturn and recovery, I wanted to show you quickly 2018 to 2019. That was a quick pull down in the market and reversal. Of course, the COVID crash, and then what happened in 2022, and then up to now with the market recovering after that. So in 2018, it was pretty, short time. So I went from the confirmed down to confirmed down plus 1 day, which would mean all the systems have exited. And Nitro comes up on top with 53%, but really not a lot of difference here. Using TQQQ would have gotten you a little lower drawdown. So everything reversed pretty well, except for buy and hold during that period. So the difference here is quite substantial. So really all the systems did very well at outperforming buy and hold strategy during that period. Now, just to show you what can happen with the confirmed down signal and buying QQQQ, and why I didn't set a stop is, I thought I was close to a bottom, but obviously not. The system lost, was down 12%. But, being an optimist and believing that the market is reversed, it did indeed reverse. And I actually eked out a small gain here of 0.998%, almost 1%, before the confirmed up signal came on and bought TQQQ. And then went ahead and gained, hit the 50% gain stop and got out of the trade. And, a couple of days later, lo and behold, got to the peak of the market. And that's what happened here. So hit that 50% gain for Nitro. The high of the market was right there. And, in back testing, I take it in kind of 5% increments. I don't go 0.1 or 0.2 or something like that. So I'm messing around with 40, 45, 50, 55, 60 to see what is generally the best solution. And that's how I came up with the 50% gain. This one in particular just came really close, but overall, most of them tend to underperform somewhat. You know, the market will continue higher for a time, but that's okay. I'm willing to take that gain, and you know, if you want to be a little bit more conservative, well, you could change that. So I sold the next day. It was actually a down day. I didn't know that. Sold it at the open, and then hit the you know, high, and then reversed, and then soon after there was a confirmed down signal. So if I hadn't stopped out, if I had used a 55% gain or something like that, or 60, I would have gotten out of the position. You know, a few days later, sure, I would have taken a bit of a hit, but you know, it's a backup. So if you don't hit the 50% gain, you're probably going to get stopped out pretty soon anyway. So the COVID crash and recovery, you know, this is kind of the odd thing is buy and hold for TQQQ just barely outperformed Nitro. But again, you had that 70% drawdown to get there versus about a 20% drawdown for Nitro. And then the TQQQ, if you use that with the Vector Vest Green Light Buyer RT Kicker combo, you know, it was over 200%. That's pretty good. But some reason we got to a max drawdown of 40%. So same with Turbo down here, underperformed buy and hold, but had a really low drawdown. So this is the other aspect of it, is when we're using this system going forward, we don't know what the market is going to throw at us. So all we can do is, you know, set our stops to, you know, satisfy, you know, what we're willing to risk and what we're willing to try and gain, and just work with that. And sometimes, depending on the time frame, depending on what the market does, buy and hold is going to outperform your trading system, and that's what happened in Nitro and Turbo here. But why did it do that? It was because the market really went on a big tear. It just really kept moving. So you know, when you're limiting your gains, of course the market keeps moving up and it beats you. So you know, we just got out early with these systems, but that's okay, because over time it pays out. So that's what happened here. Again, if I look at Nitro, you know, I got a 58% gain coming out of the COVID low, moved up, got a 58% gain, and had this big long flat spot for like 2 months, and then got the confirmed down, and then could not get into another signal until here. This is the green up arrow here. Sorry, it's hard to see. And I got stopped out. That was kind of an odd time during the recovery. Got stopped out, but got back in, had another 52% gain. And the same thing happened again. I took a hit with the system. And then I think this is something like 25 or 30% gain here before getting stopped out. And the last one has been another 25 or 30% gain there. So, you know, yeah, aggressive, but not as aggressive, you know, as an aggressive move for 50% gain, 58%, but not as aggressive as the market was being. So that's why the market beat Nitro. So the 2022 downturn, I just wanted to show you what happened just in that year, and then we'll look at the recovery, because it was a hard year, right? But Turbo, you know, through the few trades that it had, 6 total buys, it only lost 5% compared to going down to buy and hold, where it was down over 60%. And then Nitro lost because it moves faster. It lost about 12%, 11, 12%, same number of trades, but it was a 74% loss for buy and hold. So that's, you know, makes it a lot easier to keep up with these systems by you know, having a fairly good level of confidence that I'm not going to blow up my account. And then the QLD and TQQQ using Greenlight by RT, you know, dropped about 32% with those 40% odd drawdowns. And you have to go through that and take a look at it. So sometimes the signals don't get us out quick enough is what happens. So that confirmed down signal in a really aggressive market, we can get a big drop off in 2 weeks, and that's what really can hurt us. So that's another reason for having this 5% stop loss in there. It really helped out in this case. So then the recovery, what happened? Well, Turbo actually outperformed Nitro. You know, a double outperforming a triple, almost unheard of, but it's happened. You know, and then you know, here's pretty normal, I would say, but you know, the max drawdowns is what you're seeing during the 2022 times, but buy and hold are still underwater. So anybody buy and hold at 2022 has still not made their money back. In fact, the person holding TQQQ is still down 30%. And to me, that would be heartbreaking. Like, I can see the market moving, but I'm not getting my money back here. So what's going on? So this is another time when systems will really help you out. So there's Turbo in the downturn. Again, just rocking along the bottom and trying to get going, and then the market takes off, and away we go. And you know what I wanted to show you here was, here's a confirmed down signal, and I see I'm moving up. Well, this is QQQQQ, sorry, QQQ gaining as well until I get the confirmed up signal, and I sell QLD here, and unfortunately I got stopped out. But this is where, you know, that first part of the strategy can really pay off. And just one example, there are several of them, but you know, every once in a while you'll get this 20-25% gain, and it really boosts your account, and then you reinvest that when you buy QLD, so that, you know, helps in the multiplication effect as well. He's got more money to invest.
The government's plan for a digital dollar isn't just a theory anymore.
So what I've got is, you know, Turbo and Nitro outperformed the 7 years. Didn't always outperform, you know, in buy and hold, but it, you know, did well against QLD and TQQQ ETF strategy. It had lower maximum drawdowns, obviously, especially during the downturns. And like I said, the buy and hold just depended on the time frame, but over time, it certainly performed better. And the recoveries were really good after the downturn. And you know, this is what I mentioned before about having prudent conservative characteristics. You know, is we don't get in until you know, get aggressive until there's a confirmed up. And, you know, we don't take another position if we get stopped out and going to cash when there's a confirmed down signal if we're still in the trade. Those are quite conservative approaches to trading. So you get the great gains with the conservative. And I think, to me, that's a real winner. I wouldn't say it's a holy grail, but certainly very appealing to me. But, you know, it always looks good, but, you know, systems don't always work like they used to. I think you can look at some of the trading systems in Trading Systems Viewer and you know, portfolios that did very well in certain years don't seem to be performing, and it's not like they won't perform well again, just that they're not doing it now. You know, you have to take patient approach. I think with any system, you have to look at 3 years, committed to being in the system, and certainly back test it to get some idea of what could potentially happen. But it's a long game. And reflect on 2022. That's what the market will give you from time to time. And your system should be able to ride that out. It never lost more than 2 trades in a row with turbo and nitro, but not to saying it couldn't lose 3 or 4 in the future. We don't know, but it did pretty well over that 7+ years. So like I said, don't expect to win. It might not even win the first 10 trades. I'm not saying with this system, it's really with every system. But be an optimist. You decide to get into it for good reasons, just keep going. And stops will reduce losses. But with a 5% stop, the worst trade was down 11%. Price gap down. That's just what happened. We got stopped out. But stick to the rule. And you don't always win. We lost 36% of the trades with turbo and about 30% over the 7 years. So, get used to losing too. It happens. But, when you win, it pays off better. And like I said, you'll have losers. Thursday, was a loss. Got out Friday morning, the market reversed. Well, what's it going to do Monday? I don't know. And I don't care. I'm out of the trade. Really, sticking to the rules, getting out of the trade, licking your wounds or clapping yourself on the back is great. You've got cash in the bank and the market's not taking it away from you. When you're out of the market, there's zero risk. And don't throw $1 million into this system and and it's everything, right? Size, you can use multiples of super, or turbo, or nitro, but size it all. So, we're trading the Nasdaq 100 and it's like a stock. So don't lose more than 1% per trade. So, back test, go all in all the time and it looks great, but really caution against being too aggressive that way. So, follow the rules, and if you don't, it's at your own peril. And hopefully you've gotten something out of this presentation, and certainly happy to answer any questions. So thanks very much. And you also, sorry, you can see this on this this link as well. And this is one of the links where I get these great ideas from. Thank you.
Trading is hard, and it takes time and effective training.